Alrighty, there we go. That might help a lot if we turn it up the dial a little bit. There we go. Sorry, folks. All right, so right now we've just had some severe thunderstorm warnings. We had a tornado warning earlier. That has been allowed to expire. It was pretty quick there too. It was up and then it was gone. Now we have a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag there for parts of Morgan and Scott County. You can see right there. We're going to pull it back a little bit to give you an idea. This is not for everybody in the viewing area either too. It's only for part of our viewing area as well here. So just keep that in mind. We have had a little bit of issues earlier on this afternoon, but that's all right. We're rocking and rolling right now. You'll notice that we have right there in Jacksonville along I-72. That's where that warning box is here. We've had a cluster of storms that was in St. Louis and now moving into our viewing area as we speak. The far corners of our viewing area, but still in our viewing area right now. Let's take a closer look here. I know that I'm showing me on camera, but we're going to really go back and show you exactly what's happening here. You'll see that we have that warning box right at the corner edge of our viewing area as well here. That's what we're watching for the tornado possible tag. Severe thunderstorm warnings, not just there, but also there down just to the south of it too as well here. So keep that in mind. All right. Just looking at some of the chat right now. Some of us are saying we can't hear any sound. Hopefully that's been remedied here. I'm hoping so. We got a Jen Cooper asking if we are going to see some of these storms here in Champaign County later this evening. And yes, that is a possibility. Right now, we're just watching to see what these storms are doing as they move forward in time. Thank you, Penny, for letting me know you can hear us at home. We've kind of had to do a little bit of finagling here to kind of get things to work here, kind of back and forth and figure things out here. But then again, we have the severe thunderstorm warning, and we were on the air briefly for a tornado warning that did pop up, and then the National Weather Service probably only had it for about 15 minutes before taking it back down and putting in this TOR possible tag on the severe thunderstorm warning we're watching there in far Morgan County here. So keep that in mind. When will storms hit Springfield? Probably within the next hour or so here. These storms aren't very fast moving, but they are starting to get closer towards Sangamon County here. So closer to Springfield, I would say within the next hour or so. And they're not super fast moving storms. Watsika, that'll be later on tonight. And watching from Piper City. Thank you, Tricia. We appreciate that. I'm going to cut it back to me real quick here, just so everyone knows that I'm here with you, not just there showing the screen right there. But we have had a tornado warning already. We had some issues trying to get the sound going for that one, but now we're back here on our streaming platform on Facebook, on Twitter as well. So keep that in mind. If you're not really getting the warnings there on TV, we have a couple of advisories going out there right now. The severe thunderstorm watch that is in effect, that is until we get to about 7 o'clock tonight here, and does include parts of Macon to Christian County all the way out towards the west here. You'll probably seen it on your scroll there or crawl there. Denise, yeah, we've been having a few issues. We did get that warning popped up there on our TV channels just to make sure that we were going for today. Whether we had sound or not, we were going to go on air to make sure that people knew about the tornado warning. Yeah, I can zoom out here. There, Theodore. We're going to zoom out a little bit here. You can see that Springfield, Taylorville, those are all kind of on the edge there. They're pretty far from where the warnings are right now. We have to go through Virden and the rest of Sangamon County to get there, but we're on the edge of our viewing area. There's Champaign right there to give you kind of more of an example. Decatur, Bloomington, Lincoln, outside of that area. Again, these are not very fast-moving storms. They've been taking forever to get across the Missouri River, or the Mississippi River from Missouri into Illinois, so keep that in mind. Yeah, and again, the only reason we're not going on right now for severe weather is because we have not seen really a need to just yet. We had that tornado warning. We were on air briefly, and that tornado warning was short-lived too as well here. Brenda, we've got some time before storms hit northwest Indiana. That's near my neck of the woods where I grew up, so keep that in mind. I'm also thinking about them as well. I've got family coming down for Mother's Day, so we're going to keep an eye on these storms as we go forward in time here. I know it's a Saturday afternoon. We're getting done with graduation here in Champaign-Urbana for the U of I, but we're also watching out for the threat of severe storms here. Again, this is the area we're watching for here. I'm going to zoom a little bit closer just so we can get more information on this warning here. There in Morgan County. There's also one just to the south of it there in Macoupin County. Oh, they've trimmed it back a bit and they got rid of the TOR possible tag. That's a good sign for us here. These storms were kind of weakening as they were moving out of the St. Louis area, north of St. Louis, into our area here in central Illinois. So that's some good news here. That's really sound news here. We're going to cut it back so we can see a little bit more of a closer look at what's going on here, but you'll see that we have those 2 warnings we're watching here, and if these warnings start to go, we'll cut it for a quick live session here and go right back to regular Facebook scrolling here for the rest of the afternoon. Hopefully we won't have to come back either, but we do have the chance for severe storms. We knew that was going to happen right now. We knew we were going to get some potential for severe storms, and if I break a little bit, it's because I'm reading the chat and trying to communicate with you guys. But hail and damaging winds were those that were on the table. The tornadoes were there, potential was there, but we didn't expect one to pop so quickly here. So it did catch us off, or it caught me off guard a little bit here. We popped on air, and we popped here now online. We're going to kind of keep going as we go forward in time here. Give me 1 second. Yeah, but we're going to stay here a little bit longer. Once these storms start to wrap up here, we'll be totally fine. And no reports of anything from some of those storms as well. I'm going to check chat here. Again, we're going back and forth here. Yeah, no reports coming in from Morgan County. That's good news. They issued it at 2:13. All right, take that back. They issued it at 1:59. They closed it out by about 2:14. So about a 15-minute tornado warning there. It was very short-lived here. Had some rotation on radar, and now they're just going with the severe thunderstorm warning real quick here. So once these storms start to wrap up, we'll go for a quick break, and then we'll come back later if need be. That's the beauty of technology. We can kind of take a break when need to, and then come right back at it. Theodore, yeah, to answer your question, there in Iowa, not in northwest Iowa so much as now in the heart of Iowa. We've seen a couple of those warnings out there. So just keep in mind that that's going to be an active day there. The majority of the tornado threat there, Theodore, would be in Iowa and parts of northwestern Illinois. So, all right, they're adjusting their warnings here, it looks like, all until 3 o'clock. So we'll go until about then, and then we'll start to wrap things up. If they issue another warning, we'll be on there. Let's take a look at the Springfield camera, only because it's kind of interesting to look at right now. We've got some lightning going on here, and I know we're not seeing too much of the impactful storms just yet there in the state capital, but look at that. Some lightning and some rainfall already there in town, and we already had one report there of Jacksonville seeing some rainfall right now, and it's super humid out there. Perfect for this. And again, we have a couple severe thunderstorm warnings. It's why we're kind of streaming right now, and if we don't have to stream later, that's a good thing, right? We had the potential for some severe weather. We're starting to see a little bit more of those thunderstorms starting to pop and sizzle from what we had earlier across the river. In fact, some of these storms were going before we had lunchtime here. Now they're starting to make their way into the edges of our viewing area. So that's what we've been watching out for. We did have a tornado warning earlier before we started the stream on air. We quickly got on air real quick and then popped right back, and now we're going on streaming for now. Thunder in Springfield, we're getting some reports, and yes, meteorologist Seth Bohnhoff is going to be back here tomorrow for more weather potentially. Looks like though the severe threat's going to be pretty limited compared to what we have for today, and even today wasn't looking super good, just enough that we'd get a few warnings. I'm not surprised by the warnings at all. Caught a little off guard for the tornado warning, but that's because it came really quickly. That's okay. We're here. We made it on air. We're on here right now. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat right there. We're kind of scrolling through the chat, answering some questions right now. It's a little bit lighter here. And again, let's kind of scroll in where that warning is, because I kind of want to see what they're putting for hail and wind potential with these storms. Okay, here's where we got Orleans and Reese. They're there in the Morgan and Scott County severe thunderstorm warning. 3/4 of an inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. There on I-72, if you're traveling around there in Morgan County, that's what you're going to have to watch out for, is some of that hail reaching below severe limits, but 60-mile-an-hour winds, that's the threat we're watching out for. Let's go further to the south there in Macoupin County, and the sliver of Macoupin County, too. That's where we're seeing a little bit there of the severe thunderstorm warning, therefore close to an inch, but not quite an inch for hail size. Laura, to answer your question, yes, we have had, we could still see some more storms later on this evening here. This is only kind of the beginning of the thunderstorm activity. Now, whether we see these storms get really severe, that's all up to the environment. The environment's going to be kind of changed a little bit by these storms, either helped or enhanced overall here. So we're going to keep an eye on this as we go forward in time. And if I get silent, again, that's because I'm reading some of your guys' chats, some stuff from the National Weather Service and stuff here as well. So I apologize if we get quiet here. That's okay, though. We are on a streaming platform. It's a little bit easier for doing all this when we have a little bit more relaxed time period. And when we have more active weather, we'll talk a bit more about that. I know I'm kind of cutting between a few things here and there, and I apologize for that. I'm going to pull radar up, and we're going to take a little bit of a wider view with these storms. Come on. There we go. And you can see it's this cluster of storms that earlier on were all the way out in parts of, well, north of St. Louis for a lot of them. And they've still had some storms that they're contending with as well. So you can see those storms popped up there on the other side of the Mississippi River, came across, were weakening, and then they picked up a little bit here. There was some rotation there just outside of Morgan County. That's what we were watching out for. And now that's since kind of pulled back a little bit here. Let's put that in, let's put that in velocity, and you can probably see that little bit of that spin there that prompted the National Weather Service from doing that here. Yeah, you can kind of see that little tightening up there, and now it started to really dissipate here as we're in that warning box. You can kind of see that green to red. That's what we watch out for when looking out for the potential for tornadoes. It was there and gone. No reports just yet from the National Weather Service. That's good news, too, as well. And it was a quick tightening here, but that's usually a sign of something's going to happen. Good news is, though, in Jacksonville, we're starting to see just the showers and thunderstorm activity. They dropped that tornado possible tag, which is good for us as well here. We're going to pull it up a lot more because we've got more storms now starting to form out there towards Booty and Mount Auburn as well, south of Decatur and Macon County. We're going to keep watching these cells because these are all getting close to a little bit of a boundary there, not too far from 74, maybe a little bit south of 74 here. Warm front, kind of a stationary front, really. That's where they're seeing a bit more of, we're going to possibly see more of the activity start to bounce up here a little bit. If you go out towards our west there, I'm going to pull it, see if I can, how far west I can go before radar cuts out. It starts to cut out that way. But we already have some tornado warnings out there, there in Iowa. That's one of the big areas of concern they were talking about earlier for today. I appreciate that there, Denise. We're trying our best here sometimes. The weekends, it's a little bit harder to coordinate things, but we make it work. We always try to make it work. So yeah, storms are coming this way. They look like they're weakening a little bit here, below the threshold for what we would normally find for a severe thunderstorm warning for hail, but the wind threat, that's what we're kind of watching out for some of these storms. And again, we had that quick tightening I just showed a little bit ago. That's what got the National Weather Service concerned, and I'm not surprised after looking at it again. That wouldn't surprise me that we had a warning put out for us. 72, yes, there's also 74 too. I was kind of saying in between 72 and 74, that's where that line is. But you're right, Whitney, that we've got both 72 and 74 to contend with. And 70, I might have said 74 when pointing at 72. I apologize for that there, Whitney. Sometimes I get the two mixed up because they're right next to each other too. I take both sometimes when I'm coming into Champaign. So we're going to stay with us a little bit longer. Once we get to these warnings coming to a close, we'll start to wrap things up and hopefully not come back on air, or come online, I should say. I really don't want to come back for you guys. I love chatting with you and talking about the weather and keeping you guys informed, but also I don't want severe storms either. That'd have to be the reason to prompt you to talk about more storms. I'm sorry there, Jace. I'm just excited to talk with you guys. I'll slow down a little bit more. Effingham, yeah, we're going to see potential for more storms later on for today as well. So keep that in mind, guys. So we're going to see how long these warnings last here. And again, if I get quiet at any time, it's because I'm reading your guys' chats, responses, and also because I'm reading what the National Weather Service has to say as well. What about Springfield? Already starting to see some rainfall here. We had some reports there in the chat there, Craig. Thank you for that comment there, Michael. I appreciate that. Yes. So we're going to keep on these storms for a little while longer, and then we'll wrap up the live for right now. We're in a bit, but we'll wrap it up once we get these warnings done with. Theodore, that's a good question. We could see more storms later on today. We're going to have to wait and see what happens with that, though. I'm going to cut over to Springfield. We had some flashes of lightning, and I kind of want to show that here. I love being able to show lightning when I can. That's looking out towards the west, more like southwest there, of our state capital, not too far from the state capital actually, but we're looking and you can kind of see some flashes, some light rain out there. I know people have been asking about Champaign County, places along I-57, also down towards Effingham. Storms are going to come later on today. We're already starting to see a few cells pop up there just south of Decatur that are sub-severe, but we're watching to see what happens as we go forward in time. And if I start getting excited, it's only because we went from really active weather to kind of a little bit of a lull here. Still severe thunderstorm warnings, but not quite as intense as we had a little bit ago. Let's cut back to those warning boxes here. Real quick, we'll show radar first, and then we'll show the warning boxes. And I appreciate you guys appreciating me in the chat and appreciating our weather team. We work really hard and do our best. All right, so that's where the severe thunderstorm warnings are for Macoupin County and out towards Morgan County. We're getting the rain starting to come into Sangamon County, but we don't have any warnings there for just yet. Below the threshold for both for a severe thunderstorm warning for hail, but the wind speeds are up to 60 miles per hour. Sometimes that can counterbalance. It's usually 60 miles per hour wind and or hail up to an inch here. That's what we look for in severe thunderstorm warnings. And we just got a new severe thunderstorm warning. That is for Sangamon County there, just to the south and west of Chatham. Does include Auburn. Let's see what other towns are in there as well, or roadways. We've got 104 in there as well. Loami, that also had some thunderstorms last week. These storms aren't too far where they had just a lot of rainfall in a short amount of time here compared to last week. Thayer had some thunderstorms last week, Springfield as well, so we're seeing more storms move that way. These aren't the fastest moving storms. These storms were starting to form on the other side of the river before lunchtime here earlier on today. So if I get quiet again, just looking at some more information for you. Yeah, these storms are moving a little bit faster than last week's storms. They were moving about 15 miles per hour there in Sangamon County. Now they're moving at about 30 here. So it's a little bit faster, but still fairly slow compared to some of the storms we saw earlier this season. And I appreciate your guys' reports on the thunderstorms that are happening in your neighborhood. We're getting a few more cells starting to kind of line up there just between 72 and 74 there, a little bit of a boundary there, where more thunderstorms are starting to develop. We're going to pull radar up and you can kind of see that these storms are sub-severe, but they're enough to watch out for here. All right, let's pull it over. There by Booty up towards parts of Decatur, south of Decatur really. There along I-72 near Neantic, Mechanicsburg, on the way to Springfield. Springfield's seeing some rain right now. It's fairly light, but we're starting to see those storms kind of line up there from Petersburg all the way to Booty, and even just south of town, closer between Decatur and Macon, right between there, that's where you might see some rumbles of thunder. Sub-severe right now, but they're lining up along a boundary we're kind of watching for. Even seeing some cells start to pop up there just outside of Lake Shelbyville between Humboldt, Mattoon, that area, Cooks Mills. You can kind of see it stretches in a line almost. If I can draw, that'd be great. Let me see if I can draw on that. But it stretches all the way from just north of Springfield. That's where that boundary is, and these thunderstorms might start pulsing up here. We'll have to watch out for some of those. This is all leftover storms from the storms that popped up later or earlier this morning, I should say. Michael, right now we haven't seen any. That's the good news. We haven't seen that shape here. We did see some rotation earlier, and that prompted a tornado warning that we got on air for promptly, and now we're going to turn it back to streaming for now. We do have those severe thunderstorm warnings we still want to contend with, because even though they aren't tornado warnings, they're still something to contend with and watch out for, because straight line winds, hail, those can be devastating as well too. Again, very slow-moving storms, too, only about 30 miles per hour here. So we're going to keep an eye on these storms as we go forward in time. We're not on TV right now, which is good. We are online, so that's kind of shows you how we're not super intense right now, but we're still monitoring everything and getting you an idea of what to expect for the rest of Saturday. I know with Saturday, we usually have plans going on outside or wrapping up celebrations there for graduation, so keep that in mind. And again, we might get quiet from time to time here, and that's just because we're looking at 5, 10 different things to kind of get a better idea of what to talk about here during our stream, so bear with us. And always likely, we're still looking at the chat right now, so feel free to go on Facebook Live and leave some comments. Leave them here for us on both of our channels. We've got it also on Kevin's as well as Seth's page. And we've also got it here on my page as well, on the WCIA3 Weather Team page as well. So we've got multiple ways to get you information that you need. And right now we're staying below that tornado threshold, which is good. But we are still watching these thunderstorms because severe thunderstorms still can bring a little bit more of the unexpected hail and maybe some damaging winds. Again, the hail is sub-severe, but the winds could be up to 60 miles per hour. So we're still watching these cells as they move on through. Checking out that cell down by Carlinville, and I'm kind of avoiding the storms up to the north real quick. That storm's starting to get a little bit beefy here. It's in a really good environment for instability. We've had some moist conditions out here for today. If you were up at graduation, you probably noticed that as well. This is all radar indicated too, nothing confirmed just yet. And as I mentioned, if I start getting silent or I step away for just a second, that's because we're trying to look at some more information from the National Weather Service, from you guys, from some of the models we're looking at, some of the data we have. Paul, it's a little too early to know what's going to happen up there. We're going to switch it over real quick. I'm going to take a quick step over here to see if there's anything new from the chat. All right. No news is good news, right? Sometimes. Daniel's asking about Fairbury. Well, we've got some time before storms start making it towards Fairbury. Could see some thunderstorms out there for just about everybody. Everyone's got a chance of seeing some storms, whether they're severe or not. That all depends on the environment and what happens. Some of these storms might alter the environment too as well. Could lay a little bit of a smackdown for them for those CAPE values, those instability values, and that might help us in the long run have less severe storms, or it might enhance it. We'll have to wait and see how the environment interacts with some of it. Models can only tell us so much. Even current conditions can only show so much. You can see from Williamsville to Illiopolis, Booty, Petersburg, even out towards Humboldt and Lovington, kind of a line forming there. You can kind of see that right here. I'm going to point with my finger from Petersburg, Williamsville, Illiopolis, Booty. There's kind of a line showing right here. That's kind of where that boundary I've been talking about has been, just south of 74 right now, along 72 a little bit. And that's where some of those thunderstorms are starting to pop up here, and they'll start to pulse maybe. So they start to get really big, and then they start to do back and forth, back and forth. So we'll watch for some of those tonight too. And when we have boundaries like that too, they can also alter what's going to happen within the thunderstorm. They can make them rotate a little bit too. That's why we watch boundaries when we look for thunderstorms to see how they're going to interact with the boundary. We'll have to wait and see. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here because people are asking about not Gibson City, but Fairbury and places like Champaign County. Right now we're in the clear in terms of rain right now. All that activity is out towards the southwest portions of our viewing area. But notice in Decatur, just south of town, we're seeing some development there. Let's pull it over to that camera. I kind of want to see what it's doing over there. It's more out of curiosity than anything else. Looking a little dark there in Decatur. Ooh, lots of rain looks like there in Decatur. I'm going to pull this up because it's kind of cool to see. If If you're like me, you like to look at visuals a lot. Let's switch it over real quick back to full auto and go from there. Look at that. You can kind of see rain. That's just rain falling right now. Maybe a little bit of hail, but everything's staying sub-severe right now. But that's just south of town here. And it looks like a big old maw, but it's really just rainfall. Fascinating, right? I mean, almost looks like people say the sky opens up a little bit here. That's all rain, just south of town. And cell that's starting to pop up over just south of town too as well. Let's flip it back to Springfield here in just a second. Watching those storms slowly move back and forth, guys. Phil, to answer your question there, that might be on the WCI3 weather app. You might have to play with your settings there. Right now, though, and it might be on Eastern time too, just the way we report it on our Facebook page. But I will say, the watch that I posted, I did put 7 o'clock down there on Facebook. So it might be that. It might be a settings thing on your on the weather app itself, which that's very fixable if you play around with it enough. All right, those are our warnings right now. All until 3:15 there for Sangamon County, and about 3 o'clock there as we go into Macoupin and Greene County as well. Oops, let's fix that. Apologize for that, folks. Let's cut it back to me real quick. Switching around some graphics, that's all. But right now we are staying sub-severe with the tornado warnings. We do have some severe thunderstorm warnings there. The hail stayed sub-severe, but we're watching out for those gusty straight line winds that, you know, people don't think about sometimes. Those can be damaging as well here with some of these thunderstorms. When we get a downburst, a solid one, that can really cause some havoc out there. All right, let's pull up the watch area. We do have a severe thunderstorm watch here for people asking about later on tonight. Well, we don't have any new watches posted just yet for areas to the other side of the viewing area. Champaign County, Douglas, Coles, Cumberland, all without a watch yet. That is until 7 o'clock there, but does include Macon, Sangamon, Menard, Christian, Montgomery, Macoupin counties, Morgan and Cass as well. This is the area we're seeing the thunderstorms at right now. Christian, Shelby, Effingham, and Fayette. So we could still see some more severe weather out there. We're going to keep an eye on that too as well as we keep going. So Phil, I would say play around with your weather app and see if that helps, if it's with that. All righty. Thanks for talking in the chat, guys. I know right now you kind of want to be doing other things and not thinking about the weather, and I understand that. Let's go back to radar because this line is becoming a little bit more interesting. And I say line because they're kind of just forming and sitting along a line that I'll show here in just a second. Let's switch it back to me real quick. Or to graphics, that's fine too. Alrighty. It's taking a second to load here. Alrighty, so let's talk about what we got going on so far. we've got this little line that I'm kind of want to point out. It's sub-severe, but we've got some pockets of cells. The one there by south of Decatur, which we saw a little bit ago, and you can play it back a little bit on the live. That one, it's pretty interesting how they're forming along kind of a boundary. As I mentioned, that would be something we'd have to watch out for today earlier on. Let's pull it back here, and you can see that these storms are kind of lining up here right there. These individualized cells along that boundary here, looking more like a warm front, potentially even a stationary boundary. The cold front's out towards the west, and these storms, these are what's left over from the storms there out towards parts of the St. Louis, north of St. Louis here. So we're watching these storms as they've been slowly moving to the east about 30 miles per hour here. And again, hail and damaging winds would be the main threat to watch out for these storms. Right now, the hail is staying sub-severe, but still enough that you'll probably notice it, or you could see probably in your driveway if it starts to fall. The winds at about roughly 60 miles per hour here. We've got a flash of lightning or a flash of something that popped up on the Champaign camera. We'll keep a look at that, though, but there's no cells in the area, so interesting. And feel free to report what you're seeing there if you're out towards Springfield or Chatham. I'm going to zoom back in a little bit because there's so many towns it makes it hard to see. Chatham and Springfield seeing light rainfall here. Again, we have that warning right there for parts of Sangamon County, just outside of Chatham, Waverly, Virden. Those are the spots that saw some. Loami saw some storms last weekend too. Auburn, just on the other side of I-55 here. That goes until 3:15, so hopefully it'll be able to end soon. We're going to go look over the chat real quick, and then we'll come right back. All right, folks, we still have those two warnings to watch out for here. Sorry we were quiet for a minute. Had to talk to somebody off screen real quick. That's all right. Pea-sized hail west of Illiopolis. Okay. Those are where the warnings are right now, and we're going to zoom back in real quick. Show those areas yet again. Again, those are really the winds are the big concern with those warnings right now here. And again, if we get quiet here from time to time, it's usually because somebody's talking to us off screen or we're getting something ready to go. Alrighty, so that warning has now go from a tour possible there tag. Their radar indicator rotation for Morgan and Sangamon County, they flipped it over a little bit here. We're going to watch that because that's not a good thing to have. Okay. So that one for Morgan and Sangamon County, that's the one we're going to keep an eye on for because it does have the tour possible tag, which means that there's potential to possibly produce a tornado, or it has the signs thereof. So far, they're keeping it as a severe thunderstorm warning. 60-mile-an-hour winds, less than an inch of hail. So that's the things to watch out for. Again, that is for Morgan and Sangamon County. That's this warning right here. It does include Waverly, Roar, and even out towards Auburn. We go out towards the other warning we have there in Macoupin County. That is for 60-mile wind gusts and less than an inch of hail in size. So we're going to keep an eye on these storms as we go forward in time. Starting to see some more storms start to form here. And again, when we have boundaries, things can get kind of funny with some of these thunderstorms. So just keep that in mind. If we get quiet or we get new alerts, we'll be the first ones to talk about it. These will keep refreshing too over time. All right, so we got a new special weather statement. This is coming from Macon County. Now, we don't have a tornado warning on it, but land spout reported there, out there in Macon County. And with those, that's one of those storms that are on that boundary, and that kind of doesn't surprise me. I'm going to switch over to the camera there in Decatur to see what we can find, if we find anything worth looking at. But those land spouts are kind of hard to see. Oh, man, we've got a lot of rainfall there in Decatur. Let's switch it over real quick to that to see what's going on there. So we've got a special weather statement for it. Not a tornado warning, but something to watch out for. Let's see if we can find here, besides a lot of rainfall in Decatur, lightning really picked up according to Philip Short. Okay. Thank you for that report, Philip. That gives us a better idea what's going on. And the rain is getting pretty heavy here in Decatur. We're going to play around with the camera and see if we can find where that land spout would be, if it is there. It was reported a little bit earlier, so. It's coming from meteorologist Jacob Dickey, too. He texted me about that. Right now, just a lot of rainfall here. And, you know, we say land spout, and land spouts are a type of tornado, so we'll keep an eye on what's going on here. Southern half of Decatur, yeah, that we're seeing the rainfall here right now. Wouldn't be surprised there's a little bit of hail right there. Trying to find if there would be, where there would be the rotation, the circulation. Again, when they get on those boundaries, those thunderstorms do some wild stuff sometimes. I'm told audio is low, and that's because I've kind of talking a little bit lower too. It might be part of it. Let's see if I boost it a little bit. Does that help a little bit more? Hopefully it does. Alrighty. Yeah, Kathy, we've got that report as well, too. There is no new warnings with it, tornado warnings, but we do have a possibility of a land spout. We had a report earlier there in Macon County from Jacob Dickey, meteorologist Jacob Dickey here. So they haven't put a tornado warning out for that, but it is possible for a land spout to form. We're going to wait and see if that warning pops up, if they do put a warning out there for it. Land spouts are kind of tricky to forecast for sometimes, or we know they'd be around the boundary, which I've been talking about the last couple of minutes here. So keep that in mind. We're going to keep watching this area too for development. But as we get near that boundary, again, boundaries are weird because that's where you can get some of that. And even, Philip, and even some of those thunderstorms, you might be seeing that in the chat from Philip Short. Just because you get some light rainfall, you can still get a land spout tornado. Those are usually pretty weak tornadoes, but a tornado nonetheless. So we're going to keep an eye on that and see if they issue anything for that. Again, thank you, Jacob, for telling us about that. And some of the reports we got there from Kathy saying that the Macon County Sheriff's Office about the possibility of a land spouts forming. It's good information. And again, that boundary is where you would find some of those storms starting to pop those up here. Again, thunderstorms, when they get near boundaries, I've been saying that all day. It does some funny stuff sometimes, gives us a little bit of a turn in the atmosphere too sometimes, but also that's where you would find a land spout to form along a boundary. And they form from the ground up, which is really interesting as well. So we're going to keep watching these storms as we go forward in time. Let's see what the warnings look like. We don't have a warning there in Decatur just yet. We'll see if we get one. Tor possible tag there for the one in Sangamon County for that thunderstorm out there. Definitely a rotating thunderstorm here. I know it's hard to look at storm relative velocity, but you can see where the green and the red meets. That's what a little bit of rotation is. They're not too far from Waverly. It's a little broad, But something to watch out for too. If we get that tightening to go up, that's when we start to see the potential for a tornado warning. Usually that's a sign that something's going to happen here. So we're going to keep an eye on that across the area. We've been seeing thunderstorms just kind of pop up there along that line. And again, Macon County, a land spout reported there in Macon County. That's coming from meteorologist Jacob Dickey, who texted me a little bit ago about that. And Kathy Wisely here in the chat said that the Macon County Sheriff's Office got a message or sent out a message about that as well to her. So we're going to keep an eye on that. We're going to keep looking to see what we can find here. So far, I've seen rainfall here in Decatur. That's going to make it hard to see anything, really, if we're looking for those kinds of storms or those aspects of a storm. See nothing but rainfall here. But that doesn't mean it's not possible. We got a picture from on Twitter there from meteorologist Jacob Dickey showing that land spout there out in Macon County near Harristown. A little bit of a spin up there. They usually aren't pretty big and robust, and that one really isn't, but still worth watching. Let's see, Harristown. How far is that from Decatur itself? It must be close by, right? Oh, it's right there. It is right there. That would be the cell right there, most likely. That would probably be the one to watch out for there, because near Harristown. I retweeted that. We don't usually get land spouts here either, so interesting to see. Let's see if we can find that area on camera real quick. But that would be the cell right there. I apologize if we're kind of going back and forth a little bit too much. Thank you, Philip. We're just trying to get our camera back up, that's all. Okay, so that's the east. The north. Thought I saw something. Nope, that's just from the factories out there. That can play tricks on you. That can play tricks on you. That tricked me for a second. Again, this is just me trying to hunt down to see if I can find a spot where there would be, if there is a land spout. Looks like it's gone already, but doesn't mean we couldn't see another one form here. So I apologize if I moved the camera a little too much here. I'm just trying to find out where would be the best place to look for this, that's all. Again, we had a report there just near Harristown in Macon County, a land spout. Same process as a water spout, though we don't usually get those around here. We don't normally get land spouts either. That's when a tornado usually forms from the bottom up along a boundary, which we've been talking about that boundary here for quite some time. We're going to go back to our warnings here real quick and keep an eye on this because this could become interesting. Just interesting to see. We don't get those very often. We don't have a tornado warning out for it yet, nor we could. Alrighty. We've got another severe thunderstorm warning there towards Carlinville. That's for 1.5-inch sized hail there for Macoupin County, excuse me, just south of Carlinville. That's a little bit of a beast of a storm right there. It's a little hefty right there. Up to the north, we still have that spot there. We're watching out for that Tor possible tag, though. For the radar indicator rotation, though, that storm itself looking kind of weak compared to what we had earlier on. I think that storm down to the south is a bit more interesting to look at. It's starting to get more of that classic supercell shape. That's the storm we're watching out there near Gillespie and Shipman. All right, so the National Weather Service has mentioned that we could see that line I've been talking about, with stretching all the way from about Petersburg all the way out towards Macon County, through Macon County. Those cells popping up, those could produce land spouts. And those are tornadoes by definition. They're usually pretty weak, though, and they don't last super long at most instances. They don't really happen very often around here, but when you get around a boundary, that could happen. These cells right up here to the north there, Decatur, Booty area right there, that cell we've been kind of on, and we've been watching here as well, off towards the outside of my vision there, outside of camera view. That's what we've been watching out for today. Elkhart, Mount Pulaski, and boundary's not really going anywhere, so no surprises. We can see a couple more of these kind of talked about here. And again, boundaries make everything a bit more interesting. I do too, Daniel. Hope the rain holds off as well. So far not seeing anything on the Decatur camera, but we'll see. That boundary is where we're going to see the potential for those. Let's go back to our warnings real quick. I know I'm going back and forth. Tor possibles tag still for that one in Morgan and Sangamon County. These are not moving fast-moving storms, nor do when we see that kind of activity for land spouts, not really a big sheer environment here either. It can be, but not in this case. We don't have a really. We've had better setups for tornadoes, our typical tornadoes. So less than an inch in hail, but a tornado possible there with that one there into this warning for Morgan and Sangamon County. Yeah, I would say Lake Shelbyville, they're getting a storm right now, a cell right now to watch out for. Let's pull over the master data set. There we go. Not too far from Sullivan, we've got a couple of cells starting to form along that line from basically Macon County all the way down. That's where we're seeing more thunderstorms start to pop up. Cooks Mills, Allenville, Sullivan area. That's not far from Shelbyville, Lake Shelbyville. Those storms are starting to pop up too as well. So we'll keep an eye on these storms because, again, we've already had that mention there out towards Harristown, that landspout reported and shared on social media as well. Yeah, Philip, I bet it's not really the best. It's not; these aren't fun storms to work with. I'm going to cut back real quick and check over at the chat and see what's going on. So yeah, we have a report there from 3 miles west of Booty. A brief landspout tornado touchdown. So that's there in Macon County and along the area we were talking about earlier too as well. To answer your question there, Andrea Lynch, yeah, these storms are kind of like moving at about 20 to 30 miles per hour to the north and east, so not very fast-moving storms, close to the speed we had last week with some of those thunderstorms in Sangamon County. Let's check on that severe thunderstorm warning right now here. Oop, I'm on the wrong one. That's all right. Andrea, it's going to be a while before we know exactly what's going to happen there in Savoy. I will say they're on the other side of the boundary, so we're going to have to watch and see what's going on over time where that boundary does. And Mike, to answer your question, they look very similar, but land spouts are actually tornadoes, or a type of tornado. They can go all the way up, Brandon. They can. It's just a rotating column of air stretching all the way from the base this time of the ground all the way up to the top of the cloud. They're really visible there by the bottoms there, though, so that's why sometimes people think that way. But they form from the bottom up here as opposed from the top down with our normal tornadoes we get around here. Still a tornado, but you're right. It is technically, by definition, still a tornado. It's just a different type of tornado. Kind of like how a water spout is a water spout, but it makes landfall. It's then a tornado. So sorry if I'm answering too many technical questions here. Just trying to answer some of the questions there in the chat. Well, we've got things a little bit calmer here. All right, so the only severe thunderstorm warnings we have is the one there in Macoupin County, or the ones in Macoupin County. For that cell just there in Carlinville, Gillespie. I would not be surprised if we got some really staunch hail with some of this. I mean, that's a pretty hefty looking storm there near Carlinville, or south of Carlinville, near Shipman, and north of Bunker Hill. Let's get a closer look to see what towns are also going to be impacted. Hillard, Polk, right there by Illinois 4, getting some of the rain, but Illinois 16 could see some of that as well here. But look how stout it is. It's starting to get that classic supercell shape now. Whether it is starting to hook or not, that's another question. But look at that, 1.5 inch sized hail. That's severe limits for hail. Radar indicated, so that doesn't mean there's anything confirmed just yet with that storm, but it's looking pretty healthy here on radar compared to some of the storms to the north there. Even the ones that produced that tornado warning earlier on, those have kind of diminished a little bit here. Brandon, you're welcome. It's all good. Seth is celebrating. I'm filling in for him. Seth is celebrating right now. Yeah, and William, that's where we're watching that one near Shipman. Shipman's the one that we're watching. Hillard also, and then they've kind of trimmed back that warning a little bit, which is good. Moving northeast very slowly at about 20 miles per hour. It's not a fast-moving storm, and if you remember last week when we were in Chatham and we had those in Sangamon County, those storms were not moving quickly at all either. That's why we had a lot of heavy rainfall and a lot of hail too, just kind of in the same spot in southern Sangamon County. So we'll have to keep watching that cell. Looks very healthy there and a good hail producer. They upped it to a considerable threat there with 1 3/4 inch sized hail. That's pretty big hail. Not as big as some of the ones we saw last week near Chatham, but again, those still some we would want to watch out for here. Hilliard, they're probably getting the hail right now. Shipman as well. This is not a storm to take lightly, even though it's just a severe thunderstorm warning. It's one not to take lightly. As it says, threat considerable here. No other really warnings in our viewing area. That one looks like they're just north of it in northern Macoupin County. That one probably is going to be trimmed back or gotten rid of already. We'll have to wait and see. Reflectivity on some of these storms has really gone down. We're starting to see more of a kind of blob of storms just south of Lincoln, moving all the way into Springfield. If you're in Springfield right now, probably just getting a lot of rainfall right here. Not quite as intense as what we saw last weekend, but still. I bet there, Keaton. I bet there it's been pretty hard rainfall there in Springfield. Some hefty storms coming out of St. Louis, too. We're going to keep an eye on those. Not because they're going to be in our viewing area, but man, oh man, is it going to be quite intense. Brandon, Landspout is a tornado. We had that one report, so it's hard to tell what's going to happen with that one up near Decatur. There in Macon County. We're just going to have to wait and see kind of thing. Those are hard to really pinpoint exactly where those are going to be. but a landspout is a tornado by definition. It's just a different type of tornado, so keep that in mind too. But you know, they form in a different way compared to the ones we have normally around here. Ours form from the top down. These form from the top up along a boundary usually, which they are. So we're going to keep an eye on these storms. But it doesn't really change the. Usually they're more pockety here and there and isolated. But Brandon, yeah, we could see maybe a couple more of those, but they already are technically full-on tornadoes, just usually a weaker type of tornado too. So yes, but no, to answer your question there, Brandon. It's kind of a hard one to answer. That's a healthy storm though. Dorchester, just north of that, you're probably getting hail there. 16 there in Illinois, 159. If you're going north, watch out for this cell here. Bunker Hill north of you and north of Woodburn. But Shipman, probably seeing the tail end of some of that heavier precipitation. But threat is considerable there from the National Weather Service. I mean, 1.75-inch hail, that's enough to put dents in some spots here. So we'll have to keep in mind, that's not something you want to play around with. Thank you, Philip. Gives us an idea of what's going on there in Decatur. Got some lightning there in Decatur, we've seen. We're seeing more of a kind of a conglomeration of storms too. And not that I really want to pull too much attention away from this one, because those pinks are signs that we probably have some good hail in that storm falling right now, potentially falling. But also keep in mind too that we've got this storm slowly moving, so it's going to be relatively in the same spot for now. Let's cut it back to radar alone and look at some of those storms. I mentioned that line. Well, you can kind of see where it is right now. It's a bit more defined from Humboldt all the way out to Lake Fork, just south of Lincoln, north of Mechanicsburg. That's where that boundary is. And if we're going to see some more landspouts, that's where we're going to see that. That area right there where the boundary is. Again, whenever we have some kind of boundary, whether it's a stationary front, a cold front, those are the ones you're going to want to watch out for, because they can mess with storms and they can intensify, or you can even have a little bit of easterly component on those warm fronts, and you can get tornadoes that way too. Not something to play around with there. Something to watch out for. So we only have one warning right now in our viewing area, which is nice that we've got a little bit of a calmer period, except for way down to the south there, closer really to the Mississippi River. That's the storm we're watching just south of Carlinville there in Macoupin County. That is radar indicated 1.75 inches of hail possible with this. I haven't seen any reports just yet. I'm going to go look and see if they've got any new reports there from the National Weather Service office there in St. Louis. But it's a storm to watch. All right, nothing new for us here from the St. Louis chat, and nothing new from Lincoln, which is good news. You get these pulsy thunderstorms that start to pull through, especially with these kind of lines. They kind of pulse up, intensify, decrease, and come back as well too. So that's also a possibility. And again, if that line isn't moving anywhere and those storms are just kind of hanging out by that line, that could also mean a lot of heavy rainfall too as well. So we're going to keep an eye on that, because that could be also a big issue. But yeah, they've trimmed down that warning a little bit to southern Macoupin County, and I don't know how many viewers we have that far south, but Sawyerville, Dorchester, that's a healthy looking storm down there. Janice, not much going on in Lincoln right now, all south of it. Brandon, that's interesting to see that we have cooler air coming in there. It's probably cooling in from those storms. But that's the one storm, and there are southern portions of our viewing area, just on the edge of our viewing area too. That storm looking less interesting, but still intense at times. Looking at radar scans, still possibility of some hail out there, but they doesn't look quite as the normal shape we would look for a supercell here, or what we would want to, not what I want to see, but we would kind of identify with a supercell worth keeping track of for tornadoes. That's the good news here, but hail is still a possibility too. It's getting less of that, more of that hook shape. Well, than the last scan, maybe it's intensified a little bit there and got more of that classic hook shape. We'll keep an eye on that though, with that storm. But 1.75 inches, that's pretty considerable, and it's not moving very fast at all. To the north and east at about 20 miles per hour. That's close to what we had for those storms last week as well, out there towards Chatham and southern Sangamon County. So these storms start to stall out a little bit and slow down, which by that boundary they could do that here. That could be bad. Arcola, Cooks Mill, Arthur, south of Arthur, they're seeing some thunderstorms there. Let's get a little bit closer and see Lovington, north of Cushman there, 153. It looks like 133, excuse me. A 133, that looks like another spot where we could see a couple more storms start to pop up there, maybe some heavier rainfall. So we're watching these little clusters too to see what they do. Arcola, just south of Arcola there on 57, more storms lining up there. Nothing really to the east though, that's the good news, but these storms started to really populate within the last hour or two. That storm in Decatur is starting to get a little bit more hefty, looking like some cells just to the north of it. They are starting to move though, they're moving. Not as quickly as the ones from, or not as quickly as some of us might like, but quicker than what we saw last week. Betty's asking about Decatur. We'll go back to Decatur and see what else we can find. There's a look at Decatur right now. You can see that we have the heaviest amount there just north of town there, south of 72, but north of the downtown area. Some of the heavier precipitation here. I haven't seen anything on the camera aside from rain and maybe some hail, but that's about it. Here's the base of that thunderstorm. Let's take it a little bit further to the north and see what we can find with it. And excuse me while I get my bearings with this thunderstorm. Yeah, looking north, still has a lot of precipitation. There's the east. I take that back. That's the north we were just at, excuse me. Need to switch it over, don't I? So people at home can see the Decatur storm. Brandon says there's some flooding out there, potentially starting to flood there out by Walmart North there in Decatur. It's definitely raining. I'm going to step off camera real quick, guys, and get a quick sit rep to see what's going on with the National Weather Service. We're going to go back to radar real quick. I have to step off camera for something real quick. That's okay. We'll make it work. But you can look at radar real quick, and that storm near Shipman, that Shipman storm, that's really been one worth watching for. Down to the south. We had a report there from the National Weather Service office in St. Louis. 1-inch hail already with a spotter, so quite the storm. We're going to step off real quick, though, and kind of work out some stuff in the back. Sorry about that, folks. We were just getting some stuff done in the back, so I apologize for that. I apologize for that. We're just trying to get the weather crawl worked on a little bit here, that's all. Make it better for you. Let's take a look around the region. That shipment cell looking interesting again. Got a lot of precipitation with it, not moving very fast. That's not a good sign. Up towards Decatur, those cells aren't super intense, but they are popping up here along that boundary from LaPlace all the way down to 36, and you go from 36 down southward to Arcola. So again, that whole line is what we've been kind of watching for the development of maybe some land spouts. We had a report earlier there just west of Booty, out towards Harristown. That's where we saw some as well. So we're kind of watching these storms as they form. And then the boundary from Vienna all the way down towards Decatur, LaPlace, across 36 down towards Arcola. Those are just regular thunderstorms, not warnings with them or anything, but still storms to watch out for because they could put up potentially a land spout. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Land spouts are pretty rare around here, but when you get, again, those kind of boundaries, they can play off of this and create thunderstorms that make land spouts or tornadoes. Good news is things are staying dry here in Champaign, so if you're celebrating graduation, things are pretty quiet here in town. It's just warm and humid. It's warm and humid in the studio as well, too. That happens. So yeah, that boundary is what we're watching for. And then down to the south, that Shipman storm. And that could be some pretty good hail down there. They've kind of really squashed that box there quite a bit. Bunker Hill, Wilsonville, Mount Olive. Those are the spots that are seeing a little bit more of the storms. We're going to take another run back real quick. If I go back and forth, it's because there's a lot of stuff going in the background we need to work on, that's all. So pardon me 1 second. We'll be right back here in just about 10 seconds. Jenna said, take off the suit, but it's brand new and I want to show it off a little bit, right? It's one of those things you kind of want to show off when we need one, but thank you. It's all jokes. We're all good. Everything's fine right now. We're pretty quiet, except for that storm down there towards Shipman. It's a little warm down there, or it's warm here, but it's also where those storms are moving down towards the south there along 55. Very slowly, too. That last scan just updated, and it didn't really move too much either. So we're watching this storm as it moves down to the south. Just kind of reading your guys' comments. There's been a lot less here, and that's good. There's not much to talk about here so far. We've got very little ports up from the north, and as we go north, closer to where the interior of our viewing area is, we still have those lines of storms really bubbling up there from Humboldt, Arcola, up to places like LaPlace, and even out towards south of Mount Pulaski or along Mount Pulaski. That boundary is moving at least a little bit here, and that kind of helps a little bit. So. But yeah, right now we're staying sub-severe for much of our viewing area. We still have that severe thunderstorm watch, and I'll pull that up here so people can kind of get a good idea what to expect for the rest of the night. We've still got storms in the forecast here. We're taking kind of a pause here, which is always needed. But we do have a few thunderstorms still in the vicinity that have prompted the severe thunderstorm watch until about 7 o'clock here. So there's the severe thunderstorm watch. Does include Macon, Moultrie County, Sangamon County as well. Thank you, Philip. That's good information about that land spout. Effingham, Fayette. So this is all until 7 o'clock for tonight here as well. Keep having the questions and comments in chat. We like to see those. Helps us get a little bit more rapport with you, and we can get some more ideas of what's going on here with our weather. We have a lot of tools in here, but having some eyes and ears outside really helps us a lot. That's why we have the StormTracker. Really gives us a better idea of what's going on out there. Again, we have that until 7 o'clock. Storms would mainly be, the main focus would be hail damaging winds, but we already have had the National Weather Service office there in Lincoln talk about the potential for some land spouts. We saw one earlier on. We're going to keep watching these storms as they go through the region. They're not super fast moving, some moving as quickly as, or slowly as about 20 miles per hour. That's storm down towards the south in Shipman. That's one we really need to watch out for. Not really watch out for, but keep an eye on. Only because it's producing some hail. Already had a report of a 1-inch hail there from the St. Louis office there. There we go. Down to the south there. Almost out of our viewing area. Just right on the edge. Getting more of that classic shape with it too as well. Keep the comments coming, guys. We really appreciate them. The comments, the questions. More interactions, always fun. You're probably noticing on there on WCIA, we've got golf going on. And granted, we only had to take a couple of minutes to get on there, have the tornado warning that we had earlier on and get off. So we were fortunate to have that, and we put everything back else online. We try to keep the coverage here online for more information about that. Still watching that storm there towards Gillespie and Staunton. Up to the north, no new warnings or anything. We still have that severe thunderstorm watch for Macon County, south of Logan County too as well. And nothing new from the National Weather Service. That's always good to hear, on our end at least. You know, Bev, you're asking about tomorrow. Tomorrow looks to be a little bit calmer in terms of storms. We still will have some, but I think what's going to happen is we'll still see the cells out there, the thunderstorms, but those storms won't be quite as intense as the day before. Today, I think, was the better of the severe weather day for us here in central Illinois. Down to the south, though, that storm is just starting to become a right mover. Storms are moving to the north and east. This one's starting to kind of break from the pack here. We call those right-moving cells, and this right mover here has really got some good hail potential with it. Still, 1 1/4 to 1 3/4 there. 1 1/4 there. They have the new warning up there for the far southern corner there of Macoupin and Madison County there. Starting to get more of that classic shape that you would get with a supercell as well. Thank you, Brandon, for that report on Decatur. Appreciate that. All right, that storm is looking pretty intense there, there near Staunton, over towards I-55 there, South Macoupin County, Southern Macoupin County. Gillespie's on the other end of it with precipitation that's pretty heavy at times. And that's the only warning we have right now that we're focusing on here. Get more of that classic shape with it. Up to the north, we're still watching these storms along 36, just south of Voorhees and south of Atwood. Thank you, Philip. We appreciate that. That's the one really intense supercell we have right there. I'd say it looks a lot like a supercell there. Let's take a look at the rotation with it. Move down to the south. Oh yeah, it's got that classic look to it too for a supercell. Becoming more of a right mover as well here. Quite a storm to watch out for. If you're down there towards Staunton, places like that. A lot of that's on the edge of our viewing area. I don't know how many viewers we have, but south of Gillespie here, 155 as well. I know people travel to and from our viewing area into parts of St. Louis along 55, so that could be really heavy with precipitation at times. Some of that heavier hail possible. We already have a recorded inch of hail size-wise there with that storm, so we're going to keep an eye on this storm as it's on there. And once this warning is allowed to expire or it moves out of our viewing area, we're going to take a break here and get ready for more forecasting here and just take a breather. For those who have been along with us, we've been on here for about an hour and 22 minutes. We appreciate it. We appreciate the watching. Again, we don't have any tornado warnings. We had one earlier, and that's what prompted kind of the beginning of all these severe storms. We started to see the tornado warning, then the severe thunderstorm warning, and then from then on, we went from there. So it's been an active day. That's what we kind of expected, a few severe thunderstorm warnings. Some very slow-moving storms at times as well. Hopefully this isn't ruining any plans for everyone outside. Again, there's that rotation here, and that's what you'd find in a supercell. Again, really the corner of our viewing area right now. Starting to go into Madison County, and that's outside of our viewing area here, and this is on the corner edge of that. I don't know how many viewers we have in Macoupin County, but I know they probably appreciate this, especially if you're traveling on 55. 55 is always a busy highway, so keep that in mind. That's the area we're watching right there. That's the one warning within our viewing area, and it's on the edge of our viewing area too as well. So I don't know how many people on here are in Macoupin County, but it's right on the edge of it here. South of Litchfield. Litchfield is one of the far spots we usually cover for stuff. Gillespie as well. South of Carlinville, that's a good question there, Jennifer. Carlinville is way to the north from the store. You can see that it has some little spots of rain there around Carlinville, but south of that, that's where that storm is. So to give you kind of an idea, there you go. There's Carlinville. I'm going to switch it back real quick for you there, Jennifer. There is Carlinville right here, south of that. Staunton, Bunker Hill, Gillespie. That's the area we're watching out for. 55. Moving up to the north, we're seeing a little bit less of the intensity of thunderstorms there, but that storm is becoming more of a right mover, and when it moves away from the mean flow, it usually means it's an intense storm we're going to watch out for. So we're watching this final storm move through the region. This one, quite the walloper. Also, I took the jacket off because it was getting a little too warm in here. So it's not because it got super intense or I'm amping things up. It's just because it got a little too warm in the studio, that's all. Yeah, that storm, the hail with it is really the big concern. Radar indicated 1¼ inch hail. We already had an inch hail with this storm, and it's becoming more of a right mover, so it's moving away from the northeast floor, becoming more easterly to southeasterly almost here, and moving the down to the south. Places like Staunton, I know this is really on the edge of our viewing area, and we might not have viewers watching this on the live stream, but Staunton is going to get hit with some hail here pretty soon. Mount Olive, keep that in mind. Probably seeing some hail already there. Bunker Hill looks like you're on the edge of the storm, the other side of the storm, which is some good news here. That's some good news for you guys. Prairie Town, I know it's not in our viewing area, but that's one of the spots to watch out for some precipitation as well. hail is the really big concern with this storm, and I know I'm moving around the map a lot, and I apologize for that, but it's quite the intense little storm we've got going on here. More activity down towards the south, and I'm just showing you that we're not the only ones seeing the intense storms. Places like just outside of St. Louis, Collinsville, Belleville, even down towards Sugar Creek and Lebanon, more showers and thunderstorms pushing that way, and that's more of a wind and hail threat both combined. And it looks almost like it's bowing on radar. I'm wondering how fast the winds really are in that storm. It's a curious little storm right there, but that's supercells right in the corner of our viewing area. Litchfield, just to the south of that. Carlinville, we had that asked about. Just a few little cells around there. So this storm is kind of moving out of our viewing area. And if it is going to move in our viewing area a little bit more, it'll be on the tail edge of the south. We've got some people who have friends and family out there towards Madison County, so glad I could help out there. Just wanted to really show some interesting stuff since we're a little bit quieter further to the north. We still have that boundary we've been talking about kind of throughout this entire chat, and I've gone back and forth with it, but that's because this is kind of the things we were kind of focused on with the National Weather Service, ourselves, and other forecasters, and the Storm Prediction Center as well. We're really watching this boundary because storms could play off of it, and some storms already have. We had that land spot reported. When you start to get these thunderstorms that are a bit more on these boundaries, these not cold fronts, stationary fronts or warm fronts, those are the ones where you can get these little turns in the atmosphere, or you can get land spouts to form along them as well. So we're still watching that area. A lot of those storms have moved to the north, and they're starting to dissipate here around Macon County and over into Piatt County as well. A little more intense as you go towards 36 and Arcola. Those are sub-severe storms. It's this storm. That's the one storm in our viewing area. Once this thing moves out of here, Staunton right now is probably getting some hail as we speak. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Tor possible tag now on this storm too, as it starts to get more of that curved shape. And if we start to look at velocity here, no surprises. A little bit of that rotation there, the green to red we look out for. I'm going to switch it over from Lincoln's to St. Louis's radar and see if that helps. There we go. Yeah, it's on the edge of their radar, but you can see the red to green right there. Red going away from the radar, green going towards it. A lot of wind there by St. Morgan, Sugar Creek, and Highlands. So this is a storm to watch out for, that Staunton storm. Olive, Prairie Town, Tor possible tag on it. It's got that little hook starting to form there on it. Not really well defined, but still one to watch for. No warnings on it, tornado warnings on it yet, but we do have that Tor tag possible on it. That's severe thunderstorm. And I go in and out, I know every single time, but it's starting to get that little hook that we look for those thunderstorms here. But yeah, hail has been already pretty big with this. About 1 inch hail, that's severe limits there, and could still see 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts as well. If you have anything else to add into the comments here or on each individual Facebook page, feel free. Right now we're kind of quiet in areas further to the north, but this is still part of our viewing area, and I want to kind of take some time with it too as well, as this is kind of one of the storms of the day. Throughout much of the Midwest, and here in Illinois at least for right now. Further to the south, more of a wind producer there. That's pretty wild. Going closer to, actually, Lake Carlisle, on the edge of it there, under that severe thunderstorm warning. Again, we have more thunderstorms now lining up towards Lincoln. This is actually kind of moving a little bit here, which is good for us. From Humboldt all the way to Ulrich, or Ulrich, I might be pronouncing that wrong. The Decatur storm's starting to die out a little bit, but not as intense even with these thunderstorms. They looked more intense last weekend. We had the concern of those storms kind of just sitting there and producing more rain and hail and, you know, kind of acting like a flood producer here. And that's not saying it's not still possible, but they're still moving a bit quicker than the storms we had last week. So that's kind of a good thing here to see these storms kind of move and fizzle out a little bit. That is quite a hefty storm there in Macoupin County. Right on the edge, too. Staunton's probably getting some hail right now, maybe some heavy rainfall. Wouldn't be surprised by that. Illinois 4, that's just going to be a tough go of it if you're in southern Macoupin County, starting to go to Madison County or vice versa, going from northern Macoupin County or Madison County into Macoupin County right now. It's going to be quite a maw, I bet, from that storm. Prairie Town is right on the edge of it. Tor possible tag. So still a hefty storm and still giving that look of a supercell with it. It's got more of that hook than it did earlier. This one's been a hail producer. We had a report there from the St. Louis office of that storm producing a little bit of hail, about 1 inch hail. So that's pretty big. That's enough for it to be a severe thunderstorm warning. And again, took the jacket off because it was getting a little too warm in here for me, honestly. So that's all right. We're going to take it back towards that radar right there. We're going to show that storm. I'm going to step off screen for just a little bit here, get some more reports, and go right back to it. We're back. Just taking care of some back end things here in the Weather Center. It's been a busy day, which we expected a few warnings here. All right, some of that warning box getting pulled away. Bunker Hill, Wilsonville, Staunton, right outside of Staunton. I bet you a dime you're getting some pretty nice hail out there. Man, that is an interesting storm. That is probably the one real robust supercell we have of the day here at home, so far at least today. Keep an eye on these storms as we go further in time. Hopefully you've noticed that we've got the humid conditions here. That's perfect for these showers and thunderstorms to form. As we go further on today, this could be more instability. This could help hurt the chances for more showers and thunderstorms later on too as well. Boundaries and storms have a way of really playing with each other and seeing how they cooperate or don't cooperate too. They can enhance, they can hurt the chances for more storms, so we're keeping an eye on this. Looks like another boundary or another line of storms starting to form up to the north there. Bloomington normal up towards south of Colfax, north of Leroy. Some little tiny cells right there in parts of McLean County. That's on the corner of our viewing area as well, the northern corner. Further to the south, though, I think the more robust storms along that line could see some hail out there, probably sub-severe, but out there towards Arcola, just north of Chesterville, between Chesterville and Bourbon. That's probably a decent amount there. Tuscola, Arcola outside of that area, but still getting some rumbles of thunder there in Arcola. All right. So there is a tornado warning with this supercell down to the south here that we've been kind of talking about. That is not in our viewing area, though. We still have this one possible tag storm there for the severe thunderstorm warning. Again, that is until we get to about 4:30. I'm wondering once that storm starts to enter into parts of Madison County, they'll start to see a better chance for that. But there's a new tornado warning on this storm that does include Madison County, not in our viewing area, so we're not going on air. That's the good news. We are not going on air with this one. But the bad news is it is a tornado warning, radar indicated tornado warning for this storm there. So Staunton, I know it's right on the edge of our viewing area, but they've got some hail right there. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a little bit of hail reports coming out of there earlier on. This is the same storm that produced 1 inch hail that got reported on there from the St. Louis office. So quite the storm. Probably the most interesting looking storm, the most supercellular looking storm we've had so far today. Bill, we might see some more storms later on today. Some of those thunderstorms down to the south. Those could move a little bit northward here. Whether they stay severe or they become severe or not, we'll have to wait and see. But just south on 57 there, you go into Arcola, that's where we're starting to see more thunderstorms start to bubble up here. So once we get closer to this warning being trimmed down quite a bit, we'll kind of reel it back a bit and call it for now. Hopefully we don't have to come back later on this evening. Let's go back to earlier today because this has been quite a busy day here. So we had these storms out there starting to cross the Mississippi River, had warnings with them as well. And it was just some nasty sets of storms. Then by the time they started getting towards the edge of our viewing area, we had a tornado warning there for parts of Morgan County that we saw earlier on, and did include Jacksonville, Murrayville. That's sort of, you can kind of see the spin within that on the radar, and then those kind of fizzled out as they moved off towards the east as expected, but the storm started to bubble along there. And now we're contending with this one cell that's starting to become less well structured than earlier. Oh, nope, I take it back, it did. It's starting to get its structure back. This is definitely a right mover though, and you're probably wondering, what do you mean by right mover? Well, this storm started to have the characteristics of going kind of with the mean flow. If I can pull back a little bit, up by Shipman, north of Shipman. You can see that storm popped, and then it started to go away from the mean flow, split a little bit actually. It split. We had one northern cell, one southern cell there. You can kind of see that split going on there, and then started diving south. Notice the other storm started to take more of a north and northeast path. That one took more of a southerly path and became more of a right mover. You can kind of see that right moving. There's the mean, there's the right, and there it goes. Right moving supercell right there. And that's usually an indication of a pretty strong storm when it starts to kind of leave the mean flow and do its own thing. Not that it has a personality or anything, but man, quite the storm. If you're a weather geek, you're probably watching this right now and thinking, this is pretty cool. You're kind of more worried about the storm. So far, we've got nothing else to really talk about here in our viewing area, except for right here in the edge of Macoupin County. This is probably more of a hail producer at this point. The tornado threat moving a little bit further to the south with this storm. For us, we're just watching to see if it drops more hail on it. And again, there is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Macoupin County. That is until we get to, with the toward possible tag, until we get to about 4:30. Madison County has the tornado warning with that cell, and that is outside of our viewing area, but still on the same cell. We're going to take a look back north because people are probably more concerned with what's going on to the north. We've got a lot of viewers closer to Decatur, Champaign, Urbana, Danville, out towards Springfield. Just garden variety thunderstorms right now, and so far we've just seen some rumbles and bubble ups of thunderstorms. This is the same area though, just south of Decatur, closer to Booty, where we had a little bit of development there for a land spout. And you can kind of see those storms at least are moving. With last week's storms, they kind of stayed in the same spot, and not super fast moving storms, but enough that they're not sitting over the same place and just dropping rain like crazy here. That's the good news. They start to pop and move northeast. So places like Beamont, Hammond, already starting to see some rainfall. Monticello could see some more from these thunderstorms. Champaign, you've got a while, but you could see some more from these storms as well. Clinton, just on the other side of Lincoln, too, some thunderstorms. If you're driving from Champaign to Lincoln, you might run into some thunderstorms there. All staying subsevere right now. Here's a wider look at everything. I really want to show those storms to the south there. South of St. Louis, going into Missouri, there's more active storms. Fortunately for our viewing area, I think those storms rolling in earlier kind of played a little bit of a role on what we were going to see for the rest of the day. More storms bubbling up there in parts of Arcola, Tuscola area, south of Champaign on 57. But a lot of the activity is starting to move away from our viewing area, or south of our viewing area right now, which is good. Once this severe thunderstorm warning is gone or trimmed away, we're going to be off for a little bit until we get hopefully back to showtime. If we have to come back on, we'll come back on for another streaming session. Getting some reports that the storm's kind of stopped in Springfield. This storm's almost out of the viewing area too as well. It's in the edge of Macoupin County, and it's not moving very fast, incredibly fast either. Now, you're seeing the tornado warning probably on your screen, and you're thinking, okay, is that for our viewing area? Is that going to hit us? Well, no, it's going the opposite direction. It's going towards the south into Madison County here. That's the rest of the storm. You'll notice that we have a little bit more of the hail potential here with this storm, and it did have the toward possible tag, but it's being trimmed as we speak. And as the storm moves further to the south, it'll move out of our viewing area, which is good. We want that. The more tornadic aspects of this storm are south of our viewing area, but still along 55. That's an area to watch out for too as well. Everything's radar indicated, nothing confirmed with that one. All right, let's take a closer look right there. I mean, it's a sliver of the county here, but Staunton, Mount Olive, that's where they're seeing some of the storm's impacts right now. Starting to see the better hail threat move south too into Madison County as well. We still have some heavy precipitation, but we still have that box there for the severe thunderstorm warning, and that should clear up here in a little bit. Just from Macoupin to Madison County, but again, the main threat has now started to move a little bit further to the south there towards Williamson, Olive, and Binney. Could still be seeing some hail outside of Staunton, just to the west of town here. Maybe a little bit, but more heavy rainfall than anything else, and a lot of the more severe threat or tornado threat moving down towards the south away into Madison County. The northern counties. Donna wants to know about the northern county. All right, well, here's what we got in the northern counties here. I know people like to watch us. We have a lot of people in Watseka, Gibson City, Paxton, Piper City, Colfax, and we've had a few storms start to bubble up here, but that's about it. Everything's staying sub-severe. North of Champaign County and north of Condit, not too far from Fisher, excuse me. 136, that's where we're seeing a little cell start to spark up here. Boom. But so far, everything's staying sub-severe up towards the north. Not saying we couldn't see anything from those. There's still the potential for a landspout along that boundary area between 70, north of 74 and just south of 74 right here. Keep an eye on that. No reports just yet of that. Earlier on, we saw that brief landspout over by Booty earlier in Macon County. And then we've been going for a while here, about an hour and 44 minutes. So we'll take a break when we need to. Let's check on that storm down to the south, and that'll be the last one to check up on. It is so much. Oh, it's so slow moving, but it's getting out of our viewing area very slowly. Madison County is now the one spot to be concerned with the tornado warning. Radar indicated rotation. Hail's still pretty big. Just this much left in our viewing area. That much. There isn't much left. And we'll take a break from our time here on stream. Get a drink of water, get ready for the 6 o'clock show for tonight, watch some golf. We probably have some viewers that were interrupted by the golf, and I apologize for that, but we did have a tornado warning earlier today in parts of Morgan County that we had to get on air for, and we had some technical difficulties, but we made it work. We got on air. Storm stopped in Springfield. That's according to Janice. And yeah, there's not much going on there on radar between Springfield and places like Moultrie County, Sullivan, just some rain, Moweaqua, Assumption, Pana. Some heavier storms out there towards south of Tuscola, north of Humboldt. I don't think we'll be able to get them on our Charleston or Mattoon cameras, but still. A little too far south for Champaign to pick up too on a humid day like today too. Let's take a wider look, a big wide look. This is all from being picked up by the radar there in Lincoln. A lot of the activity right now towards St. Louis, just outside of St. Louis, the St. Louis office is concerned. Just south of our viewing area, we've got the heavy storms pushing through there. And we've got the tornado warned storm now starting to move out of our viewing area towards the edge of our viewing area. It's not tornado warned for us, but they're in Madison County. More cells just south of St. Louis, and as you go towards the other side of 44, then we're still seeing some cells pop down there. We're not quite done yet, though. We've got a lot of the day left, about almost 4 hours of daylight left. Days are getting longer. So that means storm activity is a little bit longer, too. It's not like when we had those storms in February, and by the time we got to 6 o'clock, it was other factors keeping things going here. Right now, we still have the heating of the day as a possibility, too. Let's take a look down to that southerly storm. I'm going to switch over to the St. Louis site because that might make it more interesting. There we go. Pretty bright down there. Not looking that's quite as intense. Storm relative. A little bit of rotation still within it. Let's look at the radar reflectivity there for St. Louis. It still looks like a supercell on reflectivity at least. Staunton is now just really in the thick of the precipitation now. This is not a very fast, right-moving storm. A lot of the activity now moving into Madison County here. Illinois 4, 55. If you're going out of St. Louis or going towards St. Louis from Mount Olive or even towards Olive and getting into St. Louis, just keep in mind there's thunderstorms going through there. If you're traveling to St. Louis for today or traveling back from St. Louis into Springfield, back into portions of central Illinois, just keep in mind we do have this thunderstorm that's pretty robust here. Regardless of whether it has a tornado warning or not, still could be very impactful as you're traveling too as well. So just keep that in mind. Janice brings up a good point here on chat. She said, you don't want the sun to come out. That's not a good thing. And I agree. On days like today, you don't want the sun to come out. You want to stay cloudy here. And I think with some of these storms popping up to the north, it's getting pretty cloudy. These storms right here, this activity right here is going to tamp things down for a while. But this time of year doesn't take much for the atmosphere to recover. It's May. A lot can happen in May. May's a pretty wild time of year when it comes to storm development. I'm going to switch it back to the Lincoln radar. Jacob just tweeted at about 4:08 p.m., which is just a couple minutes ago, out by Hillsborough. They had a little bit of a funnel cloud. Coles County. Oh, Hinsborough, excuse me, not Hillsborough, Hinsborough. That'd be this storm right here, I would assume. A little bit of a funnel cloud, it looks like, there from meteorologist Jacob Dickey. That's from Amy Prompts. You can see that on Twitter. So we're going to keep an eye on that storm too as well. Let's take a look at reflectivity. That'd be the storm. Near Hinsborough. Watch out for that storm. We're going to see what happens. Make it a warning on that one. All right, so we're out of warnings right now here for our viewing area. That has now moved more towards Madison County. We're going to really start to lighten it up here a little bit. We might roll back. We'll have to depend on what this next storm does here, what the National Weather Service does with this storm there towards Hinsborough. We did get a report of it looked like a funnel cloud there from meteorologist Jacob Dickey. We'll see what they do with that information. It's on his Twitter page, so... Looks like it's starting to pick up there a little bit between Oakland and Hinsborough. Hinsborough might be having a little bit more of the pockets of hail with it too as well. Flipping through some products just to get an idea of what's going on down there. So if I get quiet on you, that's why. It's hard to tell in this kind of this look. It's using the Lincoln radar, which is not far, but hard to get a good pick of what's going on here. You know, we look for certain things, and you know, you're probably watching Kevin or Seth, and even watching Jacob. You notice that there's things to pick up on when it comes to severe weather. So we're just looking for some of those signals as well here. That's the storm to watch out for now in our viewing area. It's starting to really pick up and probably bringing some hail too as well. If you have any reports there from Coles County, let us know. We'd like to see that. The cross section there on Hinsborough of 130 and 133, that'd be the spot to look out for. All along kind of that line that we've been talking about all day, where the storms have kind of popped and fizzled and kind of just stayed put. I'm going to take a quick look over by the National Weather Service real quick, so we'll be right back. Well, let's put that in motion there, Jason. Kind of moving northeast-ish. It's not really the moving the quickest across the region. So probably getting some heavy rain there in Hinsborough. Probably getting a little bit of hail there as well. I wouldn't be surprised by that. No warnings on it. We've got no warnings across our viewing area. I zoomed in instead of zooming out. I apologize for that. Let's pull it back here. I'm going to switch it back to me real quick on camera 1. But now with a lot of the activity south of us here, for warnings, we still have some thunderstorms to deal with there as we are looking at that line. That's what we've been watching for too as well. Kind of two locations to watch out for. Down to the south, that storm has kind of moved away from our viewing area, and now we're watching this area for more thunderstorm development. They're near Hinsborough. We did have a tweet from meteorologist Jacob Dickey that I retweeted as well here, and it looks like that one had a little bit of a funnel cloud on it, maybe a tornado, but it looked like a funnel cloud more than anything else. So we don't have anything just yet. We'll see if we get some new information here pretty soon. And again, if I get quiet at times, it's because I'm looking at other things or trying to get things ready for the back end of things. Yeah, no warnings to speak of, though. I mean, that's all south of us. That's good news. We like that. We like to see more of that. Jason, you might be able to get some. Charleston's just to the north of this, and it doesn't look like it's going towards Charleston, but just be careful because lightning, it doesn't take to be, you don't have to be very far to get lightning. We've got one person here saying that it was a train spotter that saw that. I could believe that. Yeah, yeah. I'm just saying Jacob was the one who retweeted it. That's how I saw it. Lovington. Okay, that's a different portion of the viewing area. Probably will have some rain out there. So far looking just to stay as rain right now. I'm going to pull up lightning. Oh, we got some decent lightning too as well across the region. Especially with those thunderstorms down towards Hinsborough. No surprises there. That storm looks to pick up a little bit. You can kind of see where the lightning is right now. Right along there. I'm going to switch it back to me real quick. Right along here from Lincoln, all the way just there towards Coles County, too. We've got lightning going there with these thunderstorms. And so far, we could even see some hail with that one there near Hinsborough. But if you're at a ball game and you're right around that area, wouldn't be surprised if you're getting a rain delay. That doesn't surprise me at all. Just outside of Monticello, looks like you got a little bit of a cell popping up right there. Some heavier rainfall all the way to Atwood. At Hinsboro, that's the storm we've been watching out for. Just to the other side of Arcola. Let's put this in motion to see where it's going to go. Started out kind of near Arcola, and now it's kind of just squished right there between Oakland and Arcola. Let's zoom in a little bit more near Hinsboro. No warnings on it. It's not moving very fast, and it might have been a brief land spout too. And those are hard to pick up on. That'd be the storm to watch out for. If you're hearing beeping in the background, that's from our program. I can turn that down here for just our severe weather alerts, that's all. We're going to check in over at the National Weather Service chat real quick, and then go back to this. Hopefully things don't change too much by So I've got some good news here for those who are in our far western portions of our viewing area. They're over there by, Cass and Morgan and Scott County. Yeah, the severe thunderstorm watch over with. They're going to cancel that spot, but it does continue for places like Christian, Clay, Effingham, Macon, Menard, Moultrie, Sangamon, and Shelby County until 7 o'clock here. So we've got less than 3 hours left on that storm, or that watch, excuse me. Thanks for the update there, Daniel. Switch it back towards reflectivity, or storm relative velocity. And that's the thing. It's hard to tell, and I'm not surprised. There really isn't much in Hinsboro to hint that there would be a tornado. That we had the image there, so that's why I'm surprised there's not much been changing from that, though. So we'll wait and see what happens. But it's hard to see on radar to see exactly what's going on here. It's just green. Green tells us what direction it's going towards. These aren't very fast-moving storms either. All right, back to reflectivity. Beeman's probably getting some storms right now. Voorhees, Monticello, Cerro Gordo, just outside of Cisco, between Cisco and Monticello, probably getting some good rain there along 72. Decatur getting rain, but it's a lot lighter than it was earlier. Moroa, north of Moroa, we're getting some thunderstorms all the way to Barnett, Atlanta, into Hiddle. Then we're getting into Tazewell County. All right, looks like we got a little more of a hail core going up there within that storm near Hinsboro. Let's see what that's doing. Yeah, it's hard to tell what's going on out there towards Hinsboro via radar. We had those images again from Hinsboro. Looked like to be a funnel cloud from Train Spotter 2 as well. I'm going to pull up that severe thunderstorm warning, or watch, excuse me, and show how much of a change. I think some of those counties got trimmed, as I mentioned, so that's some good news. All right, Cass and Morgan County are done for right now. I think they're going to cancel some more here pretty soon. That's just my opinion, not a fact. But Cass and Morgan, you're out of the severe thunderstorm watch for now, or for now for this thunderstorm watch. Shelby, Effingham, Fayette, Montgomery, Macoupin, Christian, Sangamon County, still you have that severe thunderstorm watch in play right now as we're watching storms pick up. Out towards our west, we have a tornado watch out there in Iowa, but we're not in Iowa. That's the good news. We've kind of been avoiding that activity. They got one earlier today. Again, Cass and Morgan, you guys are out of the watch for this this severe thunderstorm watch. That's some good news. Alrighty. So all the severe action down to the south away from us. Still got a couple storms there to our Coles County we're going to watch. Near Oakland, between Oakland and still along Hinsboro right there. They're probably seeing some heavy precipitation, maybe some hail just north of town along 130. So we're going to keep an eye on this storm. There's Hinsboro. And you can kind of see there, it starts to pick up once it gets to about, there's 3:30. And it really starts to pick up there about 4 o'clock or so. Chat's been getting a little quiet. That's fine. It's a good thing, kind of. We're going to take a break from this for now. We don't have any more warnings. Still watching that cell there in Hinsboro and see what's going to happen with that. But we don't have any warnings there pulled up for us in our viewing area. And I've kind of said I was going to call it before we had that picture come in from Twitter from Jacob. Well, from Amy Probst, but Jacob was the one that retweeted it or posted it. So we're going to take a break from the streaming. If we come back, Facebook, all other places as well here. Megan, we're not done with the severe. Jacksonville is for now for this watch. Excuse me. They're done for now, Megan. But just keep in mind, we're going to take a break. We might have to come back here. Always on Facebook, Twitter. We've got you there on our social media accounts. We're going to take a break for now and come back to it later on. Hopefully not. But if we start to get more reports and start to get more activity, we'll come right back here. And then if we need to jump in for a tornado warning or some really strong severe thunderstorms, we'll come right back on air as well. But for right now, we're going to take a break. These thunderstorms are staying sub-severe for now. We're going to take a break and kind of re-rack and get ready for the news later on tonight after golf gets done. But again, hopefully you don't have to come back in. We've already started to see some counties chipped away at this. The severe threat has now really moved down to the south, just south of our viewing area, or the biggest amount of it here, closer towards St. Louis. We're still watching these thunderstorms. Again, this is kind of along the same area, not far from the same area that had that land spout earlier on there in Macon County. So again, it was very brief, but still there. Didn't have any damage reported with it. That's also some good news. But we're going to see how this plays out over time. We've got a 6 o'clock newscast to get ready for, so for now, we're going to take a break. And we hope not to come back on here, but we will if we have to. All right, guys, catch you later.